시청자 여러분 안녕하세요. Hello everyone and welcome back to WinTV. Today we have a very special guest with us. We have the village president of Wheeling, and that is with us 패트릭 Horcher. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. It's great to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming. So today I just wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit more about the community of Wheeling. Our base is here in Wheeling, and I appreciate you coming to our studio today. Could you just give us a little bit about your own personal background and sort of where you're from and what brought you sort of to this area?
I'm a lifelong Village of Wheeling resident. I am in fact the fifth generation on my family's farm. We do predate the village. This is our 175th year on the same piece of property, running basically the same businesses. So the Village of Wheeling really, has been a part of my life for my entire life. I got involved in politics when politics jumped up and grabbed us. We were the last remnant of our family's property was involuntarily annexed in 1993, and until then I had really very little interest in politics. And at that point I realized how important it could be. And 2 years later, in 1995, I ran for office as trustee, and I held that office for 4 terms, four-year terms. That was 16 years, and then I stopped running because I became exhausted from it.
Sure.
And it was very funny, I thought, because there were members of the public that didn't know you could just not do it again.
Sure.
Several people would stop by the shop and, what happened? Sure. Why did you quit? And I said, well, it's not a life sentence.
Sure.
You can take a break. 6 years later, after not being involved, I was very frustrated with the way things were going. So then I ran for the village presidency. It was actually I had run several times before.
Okay.
But I was successful in 2017, and now I am halfway through my second term as village president.
So how would you feel that, I know you said you worked as a trustee first, how would you feel that being mayor and being the village president, should I say, being the village president, how is that different, and how has that changed the way that you might even view your community?
It has changed the way I view the community.
Sure.
During the first 16 years or so as a trustee, the structure of the village politics, the village power, is that you have 6 trustees elected at large. There are no districts. You represent all of the interests of all of the village. The village president is also elected at large. There's no parties. There's no Democrats or Republicans. You're all independent. So you're not tied to any of that. The difference is, being fortunate enough to be the one to sit in the middle, I'm the one who has to make sure that everyone on my left gets an opportunity to speak, everyone on my right gets an opportunity to speak, make sure that people bringing business before the village get to say everything they want, and I'm responsible for maintaining decorum, or maintaining a professional atmosphere in the room. There's very few actual powers that I have alone as the village president. Because of our structure of government, it requires a majority for any decisions to be made, for most decisions to be made.
Sure.
And I think it's an excellent form of governance, because then no one person can go in and say, this person or that person is fired,
Right.
or you're going to hire my useless relative.
Sure.
It's an excellent structure of government. The difference from the trustee to the president is that you're kind of responsible to everybody, but you have very little additional power.
Okay.
I try to make sure that everyone votes their mind. I do not need unanimous decisions. I believe that intelligent people will disagree on issues, and they'll have valid reasons for those disagreements.
Sure.
And those disagreements, those arguments, those discussions are necessary to really consider an issue.
Right.
I believe it's the way government really should work. And we can go from issue to issue, and everybody gets it, that's just my position on this issue. And it's a really good system. Two weeks ago, at our most recent meeting, we had a petitioner come forward. They wanted to build initially they came in and they wanted to have a slot machine cafe, and we have a lot of them.
Sure.
And I'm getting to a point where I think we've reached saturation. But if you're a businessman and you want to come to town and you've done your homework and you think it will work, wonderful.
Sure.
The gentleman who wanted to build the business came to town. He filled out all the forms, did all the paperwork, came before the village board, and he was initially denied. That does happen.
Sure.
He had a representative with him who did not speak throughout the review of his project. After the project was denied, the individual gets up and he comes to the podium, and so then I have to do my job. Who are you? What exactly are you doing? Because it's the whole decorum thing. There is a process, and once the vote occurs, that issue is over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mostly. Parliamentary procedure and Robert's rules dictate that before the issue is not really completed until the completion of the next regular village meeting. Before that time, you are allowed to reconsider an issue.
Okay.
A couple things have to happen. Somebody who voted in the majority has to agree to reconsider their vote.
Okay.
They have to move to reconsider the issue. You take a vote on that, and that'll reopen the issue. The gentleman who came forward said he had facts that everybody needed to hear. It was compelling enough for one of the trustees to reconsider his position. He made the motion to reconsider the issue. He brought forward some points that the initial petitioner didn't bring forward.
Okay.
And he successfully argued in favor of this man's business. Now, I've got to tell you, I have seen issues be reconsidered in the course of the last 20-some years.
Sure.
But this is the first time I've ever seen one successfully reconsidered and a decision overturned.
Okay.
And it was really nice to see that another example of the system does work. It was really great to see.
I'm very curious, as we are based here in Wheeling, our company here, what does the Village of Wheeling do for the Korean community? How are they intertwined? How have you noticed the Korean community here? And what do you think that are some ways that maybe this community could expand partnership together?
So the Village of Wheeling doesn't do anything specifically for just the Korean community. We are a community that is incredibly diverse. If you go to any of our grade schools, junior high schools, middle schools, or high schools, you see the entire rainbow of cultures.
Really?
And it's amazing. It's wonderful. If kids go to school here, they will have a hard time saying, oh, this or that color is too light or too dark, or this culture doesn't make sense. We've got them all, and people here grow up with each other, and that is an amazing asset for this community. It's an amazing strength. But as that is the case for our residents and our businesses, I feel that my job is to make sure that everybody gets the same opportunities. We make sure that if your English language skills are not that great, we will slow the whole process down.
Awesome.
You will understand what is required of you when you get to the meetings. I will make sure that if the pace is going too fast, I try to make sure that the petitioner who's standing there and wants to start their business, whatever it is, that they know what is going on and why. It's not a big deal. It's a little courtesy, but but we have a lot of businesses from a lot of different nationalities that serve the different nationalities of our town.
Sure.
So what do I do specifically for just the Korean community? Nothing. But what do I do for like every nationality of this town? I make sure that every opportunity for business is open to everybody. Come forward and we'll help you with whatever it is.
Sure. Kind of going along that you help everyone and that there's a big community here, what are some of the events or things upcoming in the Wheeling area that maybe residents or surrounding community members could look forward to participating in?
We have our holiday lighting ceremony coming up on the corner of, on the northeast corner of Milwaukee and Dundee Road. We have our big waterfall. We have a big park. There's a lighting ceremony for all the holiday lights throughout the town. That's the next big thing coming up. That's mid-November.
Okay.
There's a taste of the town going on at Chevy Chase, where many of the local restaurants come and give samples of whatever foods they're famous for. Typically, Superdog is there.
Sure, of course.
You'll get the hot dogs with the pickle and the fries. Who else is there? Bob Chin's is usually there. Some of the bakeries are there. It's an excellent sampling of all of the restaurants in Wheeling that we're noted for. That's taking place at Chevy Chase. I believe it's the 15th.
Okay.
There is an admission
And is that of
fee.
this month?
Yes, November.
Of this.
Like what month are we in?
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
I think it's the 15th of this month.
Okay.
There's an admission fee that
Sure.
goes towards the chamber that's organizing it, but the admission fee covers all you can eat from all the restaurants that are represented there, and you will leave full. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
That sounds great. And I noticed that on your website it says that there's an arrest cancer event that might be coming up this month. Are you familiar with the details
with
of that?
the police department.
Okay.
We have a very active, socially active police department. I
Okay.
don't know the details of that.
Sure,
one.
sure.
I'm sorry.
And where can people visit to find more information about that?
Well, absolutely. The village's website. The police department also has of course, has a branch on the website, but they
Sure.
have a Facebook page.
Okay. Wonderful.
So you can. We did an autism awareness month over the summer, I believe it was.
What about, this is something that I'm interested in personally as well. I know that winter is coming sooner than we might want it to. Is there any sort of breakdown that you could give for people in the area who are curious about the winter budget and how each community does allocate, I'm sure, very differently? How does Wheeling, as a village, take on the issue of winter budgeting for things such as snow removal, things like that?
We do our budget yearly.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, as of the filming of this, all of the different departments have completed their proposed budget for 2024.
Okay.
The winter management is handled under Public Works, and although it's one of those departments that gets very little notice, it's the biggest portion of our budget.
Oh, okay.
We judge our needs for salt based on last year's cost. We judge our needs for salt based on last year's usage and last year's costs.
Okay.
In recent years, we've also switched over to the liquid snow melter products. They're more environmentally conscious, and they tend to work better at lower temperatures.
Okay.
But basically, our budgeting for winter expenses, that would be the ice melting, the snow plowing, which generally winds up being overtime for people in Public Works. And then, of course, you have to factor in when you have those minus 20 days and the frost level starts dropping in the ground, you do occasionally get to the level of the pipes, and they will burst. So then we do budget a little extra time for our crews going out and fixing the burst water lines at 20 below zero.
Sure, it does happen even in Illinois.
It does,
Absolutely.
yes.
Very interesting. So I would say one thing where I know that people are curious about, especially following the global pandemic, is the unfortunate reality for Chicago and the surrounding suburbs is there is a rise in crime. There's a rise in carjackings, theft, that sort of specific type of crime. Have you noticed this in the Wheeling area And if so, how are you collaborating with maybe the local police department or any other entities to try and stop that as much as you're able to?
So I love technology for a lot of budgetary reasons. We can buy new equipment for the police or the fire department much cheaper than we can hire people.
Okay.
A new person is not, if we need a new person for a police or fire position, that's actually 3 new people, because you have to cover that need around the clock, or
sure.
or on the fire department's shift, which is 1 day on, 2 days off.
Okay.
So people become very expensive very quickly. New technology is typically you buy it and you're done, or rent it and you're done. Most recently, just over the course of the last summer, we got some great new equipment that is tied into a network, and it's I think it's great new equipment. We have placed license plate readers on most of the main thoroughfares in and out of the village.
Okay.
So the village of Wheeling does not control them.
Sure.
We do not see what's on them until there is an event.
Okay.
If there is, and by that I mean some sort of criminal happening or something where a vehicle was used and we need to find where the vehicle went.
Sure.
At that point in time, as soon as we have a description of a vehicle, an officer and a police officer on the street and an officer in the police department have to request, it takes 2 of them, to request the information, be entered into, to do a search for. It takes 2 officers to confirm that there is a need to find this vehicle.
Okay.
A search request is put in, and then computers start looking for the vehicle, and it can be a license plate number, that would be great, or it can be a make and model of a car with these specific bumper stickers,
Okay.
or with these specific marks.
Sure.
And this is not just a Wheeling network. This is a network of municipalities up and down Route 294.
Okay.
And just that bump into each other out here in the suburbs.
Sure.
So now all of a sudden, if there is an event where a vehicle was used for an escape, or even we saw it come in, where did it go? Now you have a computer searching through all of the databases that these cameras are linked to.
Okay.
And they have been successful in finding people, finding vehicles that were used in events.
I just wonder, as far as the people go in the community, are there ways that the Village of Wheeling specifically collaborates with the police department and the people that you may already have sort of with you in the community, that they're doing any actions that they're taking to prevent not necessarily only car theft or only car-related crimes, but just crime in the area in general? I know that you guys have schools in the area, so I don't know if there's any ways you're going about protecting schools or anything like that.
We have a beat meeting.
Okay.
Officer Kim is in charge of, it's a once a month meeting with the population. It happens over at the police department.
Okay.
It's open to the public, of course. They give anybody who's interested an update on telephone scams that have been occurring.
Oh, interesting.
Where vandalism might be on the rise.
Sure.
If there have been any serious crimes committed, the types of things that are, the types of criminal activity that might be trending, the public can go, and that's a monthly thing that you can go to.
Very good to know. I know we get a lot of calls here about phone call scams and wondering what's the trends on that lately. So that's really, I think, good to know for the community.
Officer Kim at the Village of Wheeling is in charge of monitoring all that. I had a lady, sort of a personal story, sort of a business with the village.
No problem.
I had a lady stop in at the flower shop one time, and she was, I don't even remember what she was buying, because it was a Friday night, and she came in and she needed some flowers, and she started telling me about a call that she had gotten, that she had sent money to someone.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it was exactly
unfortunate.
the worst that you could think it would be. And the more she talked, the more I just kept saying, you have to go to the police station. Look, if there's any question about this, just go and tell the police what you just told me. They'll take a statement. She was worried, well, what if it, she didn't want to make a problem for anybody, but it was thousands of dollars this woman had sent to a scammer.
Sure.
And while she's talking, I was looking at the clock behind her, and it's Friday night. And initially I told her, you have to get to the bank. You have to, and I'm watching the clock tick up to 5 o'clock on Friday night going, well, you've missed that opportunity in my mind.
Right.
I was like, you have
Next
to go to
step.
the police department. And so when she finally, I did finally convince her to go to the police department and just explain what happened, and they might be able to get some of your money back, because she had definitely been scammed.
Sure.
I try very hard. I work very hard not to abuse the position of my authority.
Of course.
But so the next day I called in and I said, okay, this is Pat Horcher. This woman stopped by last night. I don't need to know anything about what she may or may not have told you guys last night. Did she get to the police department? Did she get there? And I was like, yeah, she got here. We're working on, getting, and I'm like, no. Oh, I just need to know that she got there, because,
very good.
God, that is such a cold crime.
horrible.
It is
Absolutely.
so bad. And I was very happy that she took my advice and went and talked to the police.
Very
and just
good.
like, yeah, I felt like I accomplished something.
I'm actually curious. I saw on the website something called the Code Enforcement Anonymous Hotline.
Yes.
And could you tell me a little bit more about what that might be, if that's related to crime, et cetera?
It's not necessarily related to crime. Code enforcement is not crime. Code
Okay.
enforcement is your neighbor puts his garbage cans out a day early and leaves them out there for 2 days after. Code enforcement is gutters falling off of buildings. Code is all that little stuff that impacts the domestic tranquility of a village, but it's not really a crime.
Okay.
Grass is too tall, junk cars sitting in the driveway. Very often, neighbors are angry about things but don't want to confront each other. It's just who we are.
Sure.
Not all of us, but there are people who
But
are
some, sure.
not willing to do that. The Code Enforcement Hotline, 847-459-CODE, I believe, is where you can call and say, hey, this thing is occurring at this address, and I think it's violating code. You don't have to leave your name or address or anything. It is the anonymous Code Enforcement Hotline.
Okay.
And then a village inspector will initially just do a drive-by, see if there's cause to go and look. If there is cause to go and look, then they will they'll pull up with their clipboard and
Sure.
this is the code that is being violated. Knock on the door. Hey, we need you to get this straightened out. It's actually very important because code enforcement is not law enforcement. Code enforcement is like the things I just mentioned, and they're not automatically taken care of by the village driving through. They have to be complaint based. They are originated by a complaint. So if there is something that's occurring somewhere and you see it, and you feel it's a violation of code, or you think it's dangerous, you can just call that number.
Good to know.
Somebody will go and look, and either if there is an offense, they will amend the
Sure.
situation. If there's not, well, because it's anonymous, we can't call you back.
Sure.
But all of the complaints are investigated. So
That's good to know. Yeah, I think it's good to differentiate for people between, not calling 911 over something,
Yes.
non-crime related. And
yeah, you can't go to jail for not cutting your grass.
Right. Good to know. I might have had that offense on my own once or twice.
I have gotten that one.
Really? No
Oh, yeah.
kidding.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. It's all encompassing.
I am just like everybody else.
Right.
Yeah. It's,
Very funny. That's awesome. Sort of along the lines of the Village of Wheeling, I would love to know, just as mayor, president, What have you found is some of the best parts of Wheeling as a community? I want to know sort of if there's anything that you feel stands out from other communities in the area in Wheeling, if there's anything that you'd like to say to anyone who might not have had a chance to visit the area, things like that.
We're kind of a hidden gem, right in the middle of the suburbs. And this sounds so cliche, but our diversity is hard to match in any of the communities around us, and I really believe it's one of our strengths because it familiarizes everybody with the idea that, you know, people are people. We've got rents or mortgages to pay. We want our, you know, we have to get our groceries. We want our kids to go to school and do better than we did. And really, that is one of the best things about our town. Having said that, on a government basis, we have an economic development staff that is familiar with tax increment financing benefits, with 6B, which are commercial property tax assistance programs if you want to start a business. And economically, we've been, over the course of the last few years, we have been growing. People have been coming to our town. There have been some restaurants closes. Buca de Beppo closed recently. There is a natural attrition to those types of businesses.
Sure.
But we have been growing faster than a lot of our neighbors.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Over the course of the last 5 years or so, we have built over 1,000 new residential units.
Wow.
Between the railroad tracks on Dundee and Milwaukee Avenue.
Okay.
And that's by demand.
Sure.
That's not because we decided we wanted to do it. That's because developers came to town and wanted to build. They saw that there was value here, and there were businesses to go along with that. Now, I would like to see, personally, more emphasis on developing businesses and industry to balance off the budget.
Oh, sure.
On a very basic level, when you look at the new homes, when there's a new home built in town, that means schools.
Sure.
That means water in and water out, which is an expense. That means street maintenance and sidewalks. That's all a village expense. When you see a commercial enterprise or an industrial enterprise, on any given acre of land, you're going to have you will have no school expenses or library expenses. You will have no, you will rarely have a domestic disturbance at an industrial or a residential development. So on a budget level, new residential developments are an increased expense for the village, in spite of the taxes that they're paying,
of course,
that they will complain about. Commerce and industry pay taxes that are multiples of what a residential lot pays. And they do, in fact, support the expenses of a village or a school district or the library district.
And you mentioned, I think, I apologize for
No,
interrupting.
cut me off, yes.
You said that's part of that residential, growth in Wheeling has to do with water and getting water in and out. So is that a big part of the budget? You know, where, if you don't mind just expanding a little bit,
Sure.
Where does the water come from in Wheeling, and how does that process work?
That's a very good question. Do you know about this?
I'm not aware personally either.
So we get our water from Lake Michigan.
Okay.
And we are part of we'll call it a cooperative of municipalities that are all linked from, I'm pretty sure it comes in from Evanston and works its way through various municipalities. And Wheeling is the dead end on that line.
Okay.
And there's another line that comes in from the north. I forget who it comes through, but because we're not a part of it. But it dead ends just to the north of Wheeling. When the pipeline was initially put in, there was no limit, but over the years there has been limits established on your consumption.
Okay.
And it's based on your consumption, the history of your consumption and your growth over the last few years. But it is a limit. And so that means that we do need to watch the types of developments that we approve. And Wheeling has been approached, even just in the last couple of years, about developments in other towns that wanted to tap into Wheeling's share
Interesting.
of the water. And they would make these presentations about how, well, we would pay for the water and we would pay for the infrastructure, to which I would respond, well, you have to do that anyhow.
Sure.
But the bottom line is, you would be absorbing some of the consumption, some of the volume that we were entitled to. And if we then have an industry that comes to town that's
Sure.
desirable, and we have now sold or given our allotment to you from out of town, that impacts us.
Absolutely.
So, simple answer, our water comes from Lake Michigan, through Evanston, several other communities, and it ends here. When you drive through Wheeling, you'll see our water towers. That was good planning
Right.
on the parts of the people. Well, it was good planning on the parts of the people who initially built the pipeline, because we only have to pay for the water that comes. The Village of Wheeling pays for the water to get into our holding area.
Okay.
So the reason the water is up on the top of that thing is because now it is gravity fed to all the homes.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that is pretty smart.
Yes.
Right.
Somebody else pays for the power to get it up there. Well, we do when we pay the water bill to the cooperative. We also have 2 backup wells in the event that the state system, that the Evanston system, for whatever reason goes down. Now,
Sure.
there's huge capacity in each one of the towers. There's a regular maintenance schedule. We do take the water very seriously. It's a
It's a
very
big
serious
deal.
subject.
Absolutely.
But we're pretty well set.
Closing comments that you might want to say to the Korean community who might be watching us today.
A message to the Korean people: I want to thank you so much for being a part of Wheeling. You definitely make the flavor of the community stronger, and I'm very pleased to have be a part of the community. I'm very happy that the Korean community is a part of Wheeling. So
That's
that was a long way around.
No,
I'm
that was
sorry.
wonderful. Yeah, I think our viewers will really appreciate that. So, yeah, I think we're going to wrap up here today. Thank you all for watching. 시청자 여러분 시청해 주셔서 감사하고요. And I thank you so much for sharing this time with us today. Thank you so much for coming.
No problem. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you.